Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Welcome today to my review of this, the Hemel Sea Dart. Now this is the second Hemel that I have reviewed on the channel. I had previously looked at their full lume dial chronograph. That was a limited edition with the Microbrand store and it sold out within a matter of minutes of release. This Sea Dart has made a cameo on the channel before. It appeared in an episode of Lume Wars episode 9 earlier on this year. Now you saw the pop-up, I'm sure. This video is sponsored by Hemel. I will therefore obviously leave a link to their website in the description of the video. But before I get into the review, if you love microbrands, there is something you need to do right now. And that is to join
the League of Microbrands
Facebook group. It won't give you immediate access to superpowers, but it will give you access to a very pleasant, attitude-free community of 22,000 microbrand lovers and brand owners. That means you get to chat with the people that make the watches, see new watches before they hit market, possibly influence the design of those watches. Indeed, the available colours of this Sea Dart were chosen by members of the group. And you can be the first to access special offers and free gifts also. There is a gift with purchase available with this Hemel for group members because Marvin, the brand owner of Hemel, is a moderator of the group. So go on, I'll leave a link in the video description. I've been a member there for years myself. Okay, back to the watch. There is a lot to like here. I think the design is clean and sharp and it is a total strap monster, as you'll see with a bit of a strap fashion show later on. But I've got one complaint, one moan today, and it's not the first time you have heard this particular complaint on the channel. I promise you. Let's flip the camera and find out what it is. Alright, let's get cracking, let's get stuck into the box. Pretty simple packaging here, just a little orange cardboard cube, but I like that kind of cigar style seal. Hemel have been at it for a while now. They are one of the older micro brands, starting life in 2016. Interesting origin story. Marvin, the brand owner, is a designer by trade and he started by making one-off watches as thank yous to clients. That then evolved into Hemel. I don't think any other micro has an origin story quite like that one. And you get a nice little extra bit of swag in with the box as well. Couple of patches here, a nice pin badge with the brand logo and some stickers. Most of Marvin's stuff is military inspired and this one is no different. Proper 2-year warranty with this watch as well. Now, if you're thinking that this is halfway between an old school Flieger and a dive watch, you're right, because the inspiration for this watch comes from a rather unusual source. It's inspired by this, the Convair Sea Dart F2Y prototype from 1953, the world's only supersonic seaplane. Quite an incredible piece of engineering, that thing. Basically a jet fighter sitting on a set of large water skis. It is probably just as well this one only got to the prototype stage because surely that is a recipe for disaster. But the plane, like the watch, very much a mixture of sky and sea. Now that combination could have gone horribly wrong, but I think the fact that they have kept the dial pretty simple means that it works in this case. Now in terms of dimensions, I'm going to give you a couple of different dimensions today. I measure this one at 41 millimeters across the bezel. But as you can see here, the bezel protrudes from the case. I measure it at 39 mil across the case. Effectively, therefore, it weighs like a 40. Now, thickness, I measure this one at 12.7 mil thick. They quote 11.5 on the website. I assume that is without the double domed sapphire crystal, but this watch has a crystal. I assume most of them do, so my measurement includes the crystal. I also disagree with their lug to lug. I measure this one at 47 lug to lug. They say 45. 20 mil lug width, we are in agreement there, tapering down to 18 and back up to 19 at the clasp. Sized up for me, 7-inch wrist, it weighs in at 147 grams, precisely what you'd expect from a 40 mil diameter stainless steel diver. And indeed it has all 316L stainless steel construction, case, stainless steel bezel, screw down unguarded crown, full stainless steel bracelets with solid links, screw links, solid end links and a half milled clasp. It has got a milled lower but a pressed upper with 3 holes of micro adjust and a double security fold over. Now the head of the watch is mostly brush finish. There is just a little bit of high polish running from the lug tip to the point where the case meets the bezel. The rest is all brushed. Kind of deliberately rough vertical brushing on the side of the mid case, and that is a circular brush to the stainless steel bezel. I love the stainless steel bezel on this one, and the whole Sea Dart range features the same bezel. Not a bezel insert, that is a full stainless steel bezel, and it's graded from 1 to 30 as well. I talk about that just a little bit later on. Unguarded vintage style crown with the Hemel H logo there, that is loomed. Again, I will show you that a little bit later on. And it's a circular brush finish to the upper lug surface. The stainless steel bezel is an elapsed time diver's bezel. 120 click. Action is pretty good. And everything lines up on this one nicely. And I must say, I really do appreciate how well they have integrated the double domed sapphire crystal. Plenty of anti-reflective undercoating on this one as well. Now the bracelet I would describe as a grains of Jubilee. I'm sure you've seen these before. 5 independent articulated links, but not quite Jubilee style, not quite beads of rice style either. Now quite long end links here. They are female articulated end links, but they do protrude from the case. Now normally you would think that would extend the lug to lug, but if I show you inside profile, there's a big downturn from the mid case itself from those lugs and also from those first end links. That means it wears true to size, as I'll show you later on. Screw on stainless steel case back, screw down crown, 300 meters of water resistance. That's actually pretty good for a watch that is less than 13 mil thick. You would normally expect 14 or even 15 for 300 meters. Usual spec sheet, sapphire crystal, the model name, and advertising the movement, that being a 9039, of course, by Miyota. That is, of course, the no date specific variant of the Miyota 9015, and that is a rock solid set of numbers from this one. 24 jewel, hacking and hand winding. It only winds in one direction though, but I have to say it's a solid enough case here. I have not felt or heard the rotor spinning at all. Plus 10, plus 11 seconds a day variance is perfectly within tolerances. 0 beat error, very healthy amplitude. 40-ish hour power reserve. But let's get back to the land and sea combination. Let's have a look at the dial and hands outside under macro lens. Yeah, definitely a little bit of Type A Flieger on the dial itself, and definitely a little bit of retro vibe overall from that stainless steel bezel insert and the kind of train track, the Arabics, etc, and the script they've used on the dial. Now, printed dial, most of the range are coloured and have a sunburst effect here. You'll see why I opted for this one if you don't already know, if you missed the Loom Wars episode that featured this one a couple of weeks ago. Printed dial, Hemel printed above the pinion, and 300 meters 1000 feet, and automatic in a fairly large font, but in a fairly vintage style font printed beneath the pinion. Large Arabics at 12, 3, 6 and 9, with little triangles at 12, 3, 6 and 9 as well. Printed baton indices everywhere else, and a minute track around the outer edge. Now that minute track means they don't have to have any markings on the angled stainless Riho chapter ring. I think a good choice going for a stainless chapter ring, stainless bezel insert, and mostly brushed textures on this watch. I think it suits that retro vintage look overall. The handset are fairly simple black fence post style, with the minute one being segmented. The only colour on the dial, at least in the daytime anyway, is that orange second hand with its little arrowhead tip and counterbalance. Now the stainless steel bezel has a triangle and loom pip up there at 12 o'clock, and black paint filled markers, Arabics at the 15, 30 and 45, and minute markers all the way round to 30. A little bit unusual, you normally only get that from 1 to 15. So it may look a bit like a Flieger, but you can certainly get this one wet with 300 meters of water resistance and a usable dive style bezel. And if you do take it to the murky depths, the loom will undoubtedly come in handy as well. C3 Superluminova, that's why I went for this one, full loom dial. I like the look of the white dial during the daytime, and I love the look of this full loomed effect after dark. It is very effective initially, this one, but if I turn the speed up, you can see that by the time we get towards the end of the 20 minutes, it's faded perhaps more than I would have liked it to. It certainly faded more than the full loom dial ST19 chronograph Hemel that I reviewed late last year. So if loom is your #1 priority, maybe pick one of those up instead. But I should point out, this one has a fully loomed crown, that one didn't. That's it on my 7-inch wrist. It wears well on me. You saw earlier on the curvature from the case when I showed you the side profile and the immediate downturn of those admittedly slightly awkward looking end links. That does help it wear very well. Wears pretty much like a 40 despite the slightly larger bezel and the slightly smaller case. Overhead shot, super legible. Even if you're not into lume, have a look at this white dial variant. Black printing on a white dial, yeah, nice and easy to read. And also, it means it's fairly neutral when it comes to strap choices. This thing just looks so good on pretty much any strap that I've tried on it so far, including this black cross-stitch vintage style Horween, this brown cross-stitch vintage style Horween, this brown distressed leather collar reb that I've had for ages. Looks great on an Uncle Seiko waffle here as well because of the vintage style. I'm sure it would look good on a Tropic if I had one, though I must admit we are stretching the limits of those lugs at this point with a thick end strap. Which is why I've gone for a single pass nylon here. Really, this Hemel Sea Dart will eat your entire 20mm strap collection for breakfast. And outside natural light, it does all look nice and crisp, nice and clean, and nice and legible. Good piece of glass there. Really helps with this one, I think. On wrist, perhaps not as slim as the 11.5mm claimed, but certainly not a thick watch, especially with the downturn from those lugs and end links. And the pocket shot to finish, I think there's enough flex from this Jubilee style bracelet that you can wear this one comfortably either above the knuckle or below the knuckle like I am doing now. But now it's time for my favourite part of the video, the moans and niggles section. Is that wrong? Is it wrong that that's my favourite part of the video? Anyway, it's a shame that this thing is such a strap monster, quod erat demonstrandum, that it doesn't have drilled lugs. It would make all those strap swaps so much easier than it currently is. And hey, it's such a strap monster, why not include an extra strap as part of the package? It would be nice to have a Hemel branded strap with Hemel branded hardware, especially for the money they're asking. Now the price on these is $499 US, regardless of which of the colour variants you go for. I think that is okay, but it's not a rush out and grab to price by any stretch. I did ask Marvin if there was a 10% discount code for handing over your email address, and he said there wasn't, but there was a free leather pouch if you're a member of the aforementioned Microbrand Facebook group. However, I did a bit of digging. They're for sale from Long Island Watches that offer a 5% discount if you sign up with your email there. And I'm sure if you're keen on one of these and wait long enough, there'll be a deal, there'll be an offer if you look hard enough. But my biggest moan with this one, the one that I alluded to in the intro, is the clasp. I don't think that clasp is good enough for a $499 watch. I mean, it is the very bottom rung of the milled clasp ladder. I have a bunch of these in the house identical to the one on this Sea Dart. I pay $6 each for them from AliExpress, and I fit them on my $99 Ali specials that have cheap press clasps. This is not a $99 Ali special, and I would be expecting something better for the $499 that Hemel are asking. Indeed, Hemel's own website suggests a different clasp on these renders. I spoke to Marvin and asked if he'd updated it since then. He said no, the renders are incorrect. I think that needs to be changed because it's suggesting that you get a clasp with 4 micro adjust holes rather than the 3 on this currently supplied one. Hemel are by no means the only brand to fit this underwhelming clasp onto a watch that deserves better. It's a common complaint, and I've mentioned it in a dozen videos or more. The clasp is one of a few tactile points, the others being the bezel and the crown, that you're operating, you're manipulating, and as such I think it doesn't always receive the attention that it deserves. But if that's not a deal breaker to you, I think there's a lot to like about this Sea Dart, particularly with that full C3 lume dial. It's a really clean vintage look that successfully, I think, combines elements of pilot's watches and dive watches. And the full stainless steel bezel and double dome sapphire really set this one off. So there you have it, cheap clasp aside, a very nicely executed watch this Hemel, but one I'd have recommended to you more strongly at about 10% off the current list price. Seeing as you made it all the way to the back end of the video, why not check out the Lume Wars featuring this Hemel or my full review of their ST19 powered chrono. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in a future video.